Hi, I'm Don, and welcome to Macomb Paranormal Investigations and Research. This video today is going to be on Forest Hill Cemetery in Evart, Michigan. Now, Forest Hill is supposedly haunted. It goes back over 100 years, when the Irish first settled into this area, and they were building the Paranormal Railroad. They were laying the track and whatever they did. They had a camp not far from where the cemetery is now located. At night, after the work was done, many of the workers would walk into Evart and they go to the local bar and they drank, whatever. And on the way back home, it was usually dark, so the cook used to set out lanterns along the pathway so that they could find their way back to the camp. Well, the legend goes that the cook had a son that also worked for the Paranormal. And one night they were coming back from the bar, and some of his friends had too much to drink and they got into an argument and a fight. Well, the cook's son got in the middle of it, tried to break it up, and somehow or another he got tossed over the bridge into the Paranormal River. Not knowing how to swim, he may have hit his head on a rock, who knows, but he drowned. Well, one of the members of his party ran back and told his dad, the cook, what had happened. And his dad ran, tried to save his son, jumped into the river. He also drowned. Well, the legend goes that even today, you can see the flickering of those lanterns along the pathway in the back of the cemetery. They've had numerous people from Ferris State University and also Central Michigan University, the College of Engineering there. They've done research and they've investigated what's causing this flickering in the back of the cemetery. It almost looks as if headstones are glowing. They've checked it for uranium deposits, any type of fluorescence that may be being emitted from those headstones, and they can't find nothing. It's unexplained. They checked to see if there was any type of reflection from car headlights, and there are none. So this mystery kind of goes unsolved. Many people have seen this flickering at night. Well, my investigation is being done here during the day. I haven't gone out there yet at night. And that might be one of my next adventures, to go out there at night and see what I can find. But I'm going to need a permit to go after dusk. The township of Evart likes you to have a permit to do paranormal investigations there. And if you're a paranormal investigator, you don't want to do anything that's against the law where you could ruin it for the rest of the investigators who might want to go out. So I'll get the permit from them. It's easy to get. And I'll go back after dusk, after dark, sometime at night and investigate. So without any further ado, let's get into this video and I'll try to talk you through it. As you can see, it's a beautiful cemetery. It's well maintained. Even though there are some older tombstones here, there are many older ones that have been knocked over through vandalism, through age. But all in all, it's a well-maintained cemetery, and it's very beautiful. There are some very current graves in here, going back, maybe 5, 6, 7 years. And there are many old ones going back into the 1800s when the cemetery was first established. I began the investigation by setting up a REM pod on one of the older tombstones here. And as you can see, I'm not getting any activity whatsoever. I asked the usual questions as to if it was all right that I could be here and if anyone would want to communicate with me. I explained that they could touch that REM pod or just even come close to it, and the electromagnetic force of it, of the person, their energy, would set the lights off. And I explained it quite simply to them in a simplified way. I explained to them that there was nothing that would hurt them, nothing that would bother them, and that I meant nothing but peace and respect. As you can see, I'm getting very little response. In fact, I'm not getting any response on this REM pod at all at this first location, this first grave that I stopped at. It's very unusual. I usually always get activity at cemeteries, and for some reason or another, I wasn't picking anything up here. I've checked the batteries. I checked to make sure that the REM pod was functioning as it was supposed to. and I wasn't getting any response whatsoever. Now, a lot of your TV shows, we won't go into the names of them, and they're all legit for the most part, but they're on site for 4, 5, 6, 7 days sometimes. Sometimes they're filming for, all day long. And by the time they edit everything out, you may get an hour of activity from those several days of investigation. You don't always get activity the first time you go out to some location. It takes time. Let's face it, no one wants to sit still in front of their TV, watch a paranormal show, and not have any activity. That's what you're watching it for, is to see what type of activity and ghosts that are there. And it would be rather boring to sit there and not see any. So over several days, they may get an hour, like I said, hour of footage that's actually, televised. And same thing goes with these investigations on YouTube. I'm not at these cemeteries for that long. This one I was at for maybe an hour, and that's more than I'm usually there for. But I wasn't getting activity, and I kept trying and pushing it where I see if I could get some type of activity on the REM pod, and then later on you'll see in the spirit box. I asked the usual questions here. I asked, if it was all right if I was here trying to communicate with them. I asked them if there was anything they'd want to say, and they could answer yes or no questions by lighting up that REM pod. But still, I've got no activity here. And I wish them peace and respect like I always do at all of these investigations. And I moved on to a different location to try. Okay, and over here on this particular headstone, this was an older one. This person died probably 80, 90 years ago. And I did everything. Same questions. They would want to communicate with me. Anything they wanted to tell me. Asked them if they had relatives in the area. If they were visited very often. If they were lonely. If it was okay that I was here trying to communicate with them. And again, absolutely nothing at all. Here to look around. You can see there's a section that's lined with rocks here, like almost like a boundary. And if you look closer at the gate, it says Potter's Field. There's an actual Potter's Field that's here, and I never knew it. It's beautiful. Grass is well maintained. It's bright green. I don't know how many graves are located here in Potter's Field, but I thought sure I'd get some type of activity here, so I put the REM pod down on this rock. And again, I asked the same questions. Is it okay I'm here? Anyone want to communicate with me? I explained that I was very sorry that they were in Potter's Field and that their grave was unmarked. I asked them if they had any unfinished business that they'd want to communicate to me. Nothing at all. There are no cell towers around here. There's no microwave. There's no high tension lines. There's nothing that would really explain the interference that I was getting on Spirit Box. I put down the antenna and I did some adjustments on the Spirit Box, reversed the transmission so the frequency was coming in reverse, both AM and FM. And I broke out the EMF meter to see if there was any type of electromagnetic interference from any type of power fluctuations in the area. And EMF meter read absolutely nothing. It was 0. But yet I still kept getting the interference on the Spirit Box. The other thing that was really noticeable is that there was a temperature fluctuation. My grandson, who was my cameraman today on this, he felt the cold too. It actually was a definite temperature change. That little bit of activity we did get. And it was funny because every time we felt that temperature change, it recorded on the Spirit Box. And I also got that strange interference coming through, like something was trying to communicate, but yet I couldn't understand. Right here, my grandson's telling me that he's feeling the temperature change, that he got cold all of a sudden, and I can actually feel the temperature drop. Well, I just couldn't figure out what was causing it. I asked some more questions. Still got that interference. I checked the EMF meter. I was still getting absolutely no reading on EMF at all. But yet, we kept getting that cold feeling, that cold sensation. And the spirit box does have a temperature sensor on it. And there was a temperature differential. It would go up 3-4 degrees, and then it would drop another 4, 5, 6 degrees. And it was just really strange. And every time that temperature fluctuation occurred, we felt that cold. And here I tried to show the temperature dropping on the spirit box. The blue light, it's red for normal, and I set it to 0. And it turns blue as the temperature changes to the cold, and it'll go to the red side if it the light will change red, indicating the temperature if there's an increase. Well, here I reset it to 0 again just to make sure that there wasn't some type of malfunction with the spirit box. Reset to 0, and then as you'll see, it changed again. And it couldn't have been from a cool breeze or anything. I mean, our back ends were to the sun. It was warm. It wasn't really a cold day out. And we could definitely feel a chill to the front of us facing the potter's field where we were using the spirit box at. And it's just unexplainable why we only had that interference on the spirit box, all the static, as if something was trying to communicate when that temperature did drop. So we did get activity, I think, as far as this went. With the REM pod, we still didn't get anything. So, you know, sometimes that's hit or miss. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. They're done at night. But for these first few videos I did the Mount Vernon investigation, and then I did the Fox Tower investigation, and then this one I did during daylight for one simple reason. I wanted to scope the place out and get some idea what it was before I go walk around in the dark and possibly trip and get hurt. I want to know what's in the area to get some type of plan in mind as to where I want to go investigate. Now, in this one here, I definitely want to go back to Potter's Field. That's the only place I got any resemblance of activity at. And that was very interesting. It got cool there. There was a definite temperature change. Even though there was no REM pod activity, I think something was trying to come over the spirit box. I just couldn't, it was inaudible, I just couldn't tell what it was. And the interesting part was every time there was a temperature change, I got that. So, in the future, for future videos, I want to go to historic Elmwood in Detroit. Now, historic Elmwood and Mount Elliott Cemetery are back-to-back, separated by only a fence. Mount Elliott is the Catholic side of the cemetery, and historic Elmwood is the Protestant side. Now, in Elmwood, what's really interesting about this is there's a creek that runs through it. This was known as Bloody Run Creek. And during the French Indian Wars, and after that with the British Indians, there was a massacre. The American Indians that were local here, massacred the British here. They say that there was so much blood that the creek run red, and that's why they call it Bloody Run Creek. But that'll be an interesting investigation. I'm sure we'll get activity there. There are a lot of old tombstones, a lot of old graves that are there, and a lot of famous people in there as well. So that'll be what I'm looking forward to. And then next week I'm going to do the Felt Mansion in Saugatuck, Michigan. Mr. Felt was the one who invented the calculator. And he built that house, that mansion, for his wife. She only lived there 6 weeks before she passed away in it. So there was a lot of sadness and a lot of things that went on in that mansion, and it's known to be haunted. Some of that later on next week. In the meantime, I want to do part 2 of Mount Vernon Cemetery. I did part 1. That was the first video I published. Got a lot of activity there. I'd like to go there later on at night and see what's going on there and do some infrared and some thermography, some thermal cam on that, and we'll see what we can find. But if you like these videos and you want to keep encouraging me to make them, hit the like and subscribe. The more like and subscribes I get on these videos, the more encouraged I am that people are watching them and I'm not just wasting my time on them. And I'll publish more. But I have a whole lot of plans with my whole crew to go to a number of different investigations. So they'll be upcoming soon. Keep watching, keep subscribing, so you ring that little bell so that you know that I have published a new video and you'll be notified. Until then, okay, I'm Don, and thank you for watching this video.